Hey guys, thanks for clicking on this video. I am super excited because I got a new camera and it's super nice and I can do fancy things with it, and hopefully the quality of the video is really good, especially compared to when I did a few videos that were just through my computer. First off, I want to say hopefully the audio is good in this. I have not filmed and then edited any videos, so I don't know how it will turn out. Also, sorry if you hear background noise like construction or fans. I have fans going, but I try to turn them down, and it's getting hot in here, but I closed the window because of the construction that's right outside my dorm. So hopefully you're not hearing any of that, but if you are, that's my bad. This is just gonna be a chill video though. It is officially October and I wanted to just do some fall book recommendation because I feel like it's my favorite genre of books to read, and by genre I mean a lot of different genres. Today we've got some mystery, historical fiction, we've got some quest and heist. I have one or two cozy fantasy and some dark fantasy, some other fantasy. There's a lot in this video, so don't worry about genre. I have one or two of each little thing, and I basically just went through my Goodreads and was like, oh, that's a fall book. That's kind of fall, that has magic in it. So that was kind of my vibe going into this. Also, I wouldn't necessarily call any of these books super niche. Most of these you've probably heard of, they're pretty popular, but it's kind of if you haven't read these yet, what are you doing? Also, if you're new to reading and you just want some ideas to get started, these are just my favorites. I love all of these, at least 4 stars for all of these, I'm pretty sure. Most of them 5 stars. So really any of these you can't go wrong with. And I'm just gonna read the description that I copied off of Goodreads, and then I'm gonna tell you what I liked and why you should read it. I am gonna also preface and say I did do a little run of this video before and I was having a hard time talking basically and reading my description. So if I'm stuttering a lot or just messing up my words, I apologize for that. Please keep watching. But first off is The Alienist. The year is 1896. The place, New York City. On a cold March night, New York Times reporter John Schuler Moore is summoned to the East River by his friend and former Harvard classmate Dr. Laszlo Kreisler, a psychologist or alienist. On the unfinished Williamsburg Bridge, they view the horribly mutilated body of an adolescent boy, a prostitute from one of Manhattan's infamous brothels. The newly appointed police commissioner, Theodore Roosevelt, in a highly unorthodox move, enlists the 2 men in the murder investigation, counting on the reserved Kreisler's intellect and Moore's knowledge of New York's vast criminal underworld. They are joined by Sarah Howard, a brave and determined woman who works as a secretary in the police department. Laboring in secret, for alienists in the emergent discipline of psychology are viewed by the public with skepticism at best, the unlikely team embarks on what is a revolutionary effort in criminology, amassing a psychological profile of the man they're looking for based on the details of his crimes. Their dangerous quest takes them into the tortured past and twisted mind of a murderer who has killed before and will kill again before the hunt is over. Fast-paced and gripping, and fused with a historian's exactitude, The Alienist conjures up the Gilded Age and its untarnished underside. Verminous tenements and opulent mansions, corrupt cops and flamboyant gangsters, shining opera houses and seamy gin mills. Here is a New York during an age where questioning society's belief that all killers are born, not made, could have unexpected and mortal consequences. So, basically, this is I wouldn't say murder mystery in the sense that you would probably think. It's very much just an investigation into this guy that's killing these kids, basically. But this was the first long and in-depth book in a long time that kept my attention throughout the whole book. I was really intrigued by everything, and I think it's because they had a really interesting approach to the new concepts that were coming up at the time, fingerprinting, psychology, and they're making a profile first for who they think it is and then trying to find that person. You don't really think about that's not how it always was. It also has really interesting approaches to corruption. People back then really did not care what happened to poor people at all, and so it's really interesting to kind of see how normalized that is, in the sense that they're really going out there to try to investigate these murders. Also, the aesthetic of 1890s New York really comes through in this book. You can practically feel the gloom and smog coming through this book. It's always just every scene I just pictured dark and smoggy and I don't know, it just the aesthetic came through of New York. It had opera houses, mansions, corrupt cops, gangsters, all of that. And also, it's just written and executed so well. Like, it's just written so well, and it held my attention the whole way through. I have a lot of problems with books right now. If I like start to read it and like the writing just doesn't seem good, I just can't get through it. But this was done really well. Gave it 5 stars, so I really recommend if you're interested in anything like psychology at all, criminology at all, even just like historical fiction. Theodore Roosevelt's in this for some reason. Well, because he's the commissioner. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book a lot. Next is Shadow of the Wind, Barcelona, 1945. A city slowly heals from its war wounds, and Daniel, an antiquarian book dealer's son who mourns the loss of his mother, finds solace in a mysterious book entitled The Shadow of the Wind by one Julian Carriggs. But when he sets out to find the author's other work, he makes a shocking discovery. Someone has been systematically destroying every copy of every book Carriggs has ever written. In fact, Daniel may have had the last of Carriggs' books in existence. Soon, Daniel's seemingly innocent quest opens a door into one of Barcelona's darkest secrets, an epic story of murder, madness, and doomed love. So this is another historical fiction with a very prominent atmosphere. Like, you just feel like, again, it's very, I haven't read this in a minute, but I just remember it being like kind of gloomy, kind of like mysterious. It's also a book about books, which is always a good premise to have, I think, just in general. And as I was kind of going to like remind myself of what the books were actually about when I was picking these, I was going on Wikipedia to like get the full summary, and this one line stuck out to me for this book, which is probing into the murky past of a number of people, which was just like a fraction of a sentence, but I feel like it represents the book pretty well. This book also has really good discussions about corruption and authority and what people in power can do, specifically like, dang, I'm gonna put the word on the screen if I think of it. There's also a somewhat weird but like kind of compelling love story. It's kind of murky, but it's there. And my Goodreads review for this was, this is how books are supposed to be written. So it's another great book that just has really great writing. It's just how I imagine a good book to be written, which I feel like, not that it's like a lost art today, obviously, but like it just, the writing just flows perfectly, and like you always, I don't know, does that, like, I hope that's making sense. But again, 5 stars, really recommend. Next, very different vibe. These are all in random order, by the way. I just started picking them and I did not put them in categories at all. The next book is The Raven Boys, which is, The Raven Cycle is the series, but this is the description for The Raven Boys, which is the first book. There are only 2 reasons a non-seer would see a spirit on St. Mark's Eve, Neve said. Either you're his true love or you killed him. It is freezing in the churchyard even before the dead arrive. Every year, Blue Sargent stands next to her clairvoyant mother as the soon-to-be dead walk past. Blue herself never sees them, not until this year, when a boy emerges from the dark and speaks directly to her. His name is Gansey, and Blue soon discovers that he is a rich student at Agliambi, the local private school. Blue has a policy of staying away from the Agliambi boys. Known as Raven Boys, they can only mean trouble. But Blue is drawn to Gansey in a way she can't entirely explain. He has it all: family, money, good looks, devoted friends, but he's looking for much more than that. He's on a quest that has encompassed 3 other Raven Boys: Adam, the scholarship student who resents all the privilege around him; Ronan, the fierce soul who ranges from anger to despair; and Noah, the taciturn watcher of the 4, who notices many things but says very little. For as long as she can remember, Blue has been warned that she will cause her true love to die. She never thought this would be a problem, but now, as her life becomes caught up in the strange and sinister world of the Raven Boys, she's not so sure anymore. This is my #1 series ever. Yes, I read it like 4 or 5 years ago. I really need to reread it, but like I'm still putting it there as like an honorary favorite ever. It literally has everything you want in a good like YA fantasy. I'm just gonna like I just made a list of like all of the things that it includes. I said magic, tarot, visions, quest, Welsh kings, ghosts, psychics, complicated past, talking forests, rituals, private school, Latin. That's my list. So if any of those things interest you. Also, you might hear those and be like, oh, this is gonna be really cheesy, it's gonna be like really corny. The world building and character development in this book is done so well. And like I said, I haven't read it in a minute, so I'm really hoping that stands up to like my current standards. But from what I remember, like I just fell in love with this series. Like I would literally be so upset that these people weren't real because of how well the characters were like written out. Again, maybe that was just me at 14, but All 4 books in the series I gave 5 stars. And I'm sure it's still a great read, even if it's not quite as great as I thought it was. But I'm definitely going for the reread soon, and I literally, like, just read this book, please, because it's my favorite ever. But like me as 14. I still think it's a good read though. It literally has everything. It's written so well. Next is Six of Crows, which is Six of Crows. Ketterdam, a bustling hub of international trade where anything can be had for the right price. And no one knows that better than criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker. Kaz is offered a chance at a deadly heist that can make him rich beyond his wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. A convict with a thirst for revenge, a sharpshooter who can't walk away from a wager, a runaway with a privileged past, a spy known as the Wraith, a heartrender using her magic to survive the slums, a thief with a gift for unlikely escapes. 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. Kaz's crew is the only thing that might stand between the world and destruction if they don't kill each other first. So this is like crime and heist and dark and gloomy, but also with the magic element, which I think is done really well because as far as I remember, it wasn't like a really main part of the plot. It was just like, here's the story, and then also they have magic. If you don't know, this is a kind of spin-off-ish series of a different book series, which I didn't read and I'm forgetting the name of for some reason, even though I really shouldn't. It's like a really popular Shadow in the Bone, right? It was also a TV series if you've seen it. I never read that though because I felt like that was more focused on the magic. This is very much just like crime, city slums, heist, but also magic. These characters are also developed really well. Can you tell that one of my favorite tropes is found family in character building? Probably. It also has multiple perspectives, which I feel like is sometimes tricky in a book series, but in this case it just does a really good job of like really expanding the world and just seeing all these different things happening. So I think it's done in a really good way. This also has more corruption and politics and violence. Are we surprised? Except this time it's even worse because they are all kids. The oldest in this like little gang is 18. And then there's like there's 17 and 16. So like it really, because it's like kind of YA, like it's appealing to the younger audience, but it also has a really good commentary on how these kids were put into this position and forced into this life. So I think it really does a good job of like combining the two and being pretty digestible, but also like having real substance behind it. The next book is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, which is a cozy fantasy. So very different vibe from everything else so far. As one of the few witches in Britain, Micah Moon knows she has to hide her magic, keep her head down, and stay away from other witches so their powers don't mingle and draw attention. And as an orphan who lost her parents at a young age and was raised by strangers, she's used to being alone and she follows the rules, with one exception, an online account where she posts videos pretending to be a witch. She thinks no one will take it seriously. But someone does. An unexpected message arrives, begging her to travel to the remote and mysterious Nowhere House to teach 3 young witches how to control their magic. It breaks all of the rules, but Mika goes anyways, and is immediately tangled up in the lives and secrets of not only her 3 charges, but also an absent archaeologist, a retired actor, 2 long-suffering caretakers, and Jamie, the handsome and prickly librarian of Nowhere House, would do anything to protect the children, and as far as he's concerned, a stranger like Mika is a threat, an irritatingly appealing threat. As Mika begins to find her place at Nowhere House, the thought of belonging somewhere begins to feel like a real possibility. But magic isn't the only danger in the world, and when a threat comes knocking at their door, Mika will need to decide whether to risk everything to protect a found family she didn't know she was looking for. So this is definitely my most chill of my recommends for fall. Very cozy fantasy, found family, has some romance, has some magic, yet again, and it's definitely more modern and slightly less like well written, but I don't think that's like a bad thing. It just means it's a lighter read and it's a cozy read and you can just read it whenever and you can read it in like a day. So I don't think that's a bad thing at all. It's just not as hardcore as some of the others, whatever that means. So yeah, if you want like kind of a lighter read, I would definitely recommend this. It is technically still aimed at adults, just so everyone is aware. I can't really remember the scenes that were for adults. There like wasn't anything crazy though, or else I feel like I would remember. So it's like chill, but technically I looked it up and it is aimed at adults, and there's not much else to say. It's just a cozy book. I feel like the description did a pretty good job. Yeah, again, found family, magic, all of that. Very different vibe. Next book is The Book Thief. It is 1939 Nazi Germany. The country is holding its breath. Death has never been busier and will be busier still. By her brother's graveside, Liesel's life is changed when she picks up a single object, partially hidden in the snow. It is the gravedigger's handbook, left behind there by accident, and it is her first act of book thievery. She begins a love affair with books and words as Liesel, with the help of her accordion-playing foster father, learns to read. Soon she is stealing books from Nazi book burnings, the mayor's wife's library, wherever there are books to be found. But these are dangerous times. When Liesel's foster family hides a Jew in their basement, Liesel's world is both opened up and closed down. In superbly crafted writing that burns with intensity, award-winning author Markus Zusak has given us one of the most enduring stories of our time. So this book, as I'm sure most of you can relate with, I read in school, and honestly I don't remember too much about it and the plot. I just remember really liking it more than I thought I would. It's also a book about books, which is great, of course. It also has themes of violence and corruption. And yeah, so I read it in school, so it's not like too heavy, but I definitely think that there's a lot to learn in this book. And that's kind of all I have to say for that, because I'm sure a lot of you have read it, and I'm also sure that I don't remember that much about it. So I'm going to move on to Frankenstein. Mary Shelley began writing Frankenstein when she was only 19. At once a gothic thriller, a passionate romance, and a cautionary tale about the dangers of science, Frankenstein tells the story of committed science student Victor Frankenstein. Obsessed with discovering the cause of generation in life and bestowing animation upon lifeless matter, Frankenstein assembles a human being from stolen body parts, but upon bringing it to life, he recoils in horror at the creature's hideousness. Tormented by isolation and loneliness, the once innocent creature turns to evil and unleashes a campaign of murderous revenge against his creator, Frankenstein. Frankenstein, an instant bestseller and an important ancestor of both the horror and science fiction genres, not only tells a terrifying story, but also raises profound, disturbing questions about the very nature of life and the place of humankind within the cosmos. What does it mean to be human? What responsibilities do we have to each other? How far can we go in tampering with nature? In our age, filled with news of organ donation, genetic engineering, and bioterrorism, these questions are more relevant than ever. So I will say, I didn't enjoy this as much as some other people did, and as much as I thought I would, but I think that's more just my personal taste and the fact that it is definitely a heavier read. It takes a lot more like brain power to really understand what's going on, but I think a lot of you will really like this. It is really interesting, and I enjoyed it. It was just a little bit tougher for me to like get through, I guess. Also, Mary Shelley is awesome. She's basically created the sci-fi genre, and that's just crazy. I think it's cool. Frankenstein was like one of the first. But yeah, there's a lot of philosophy and ethics in this, but it's also a decently entertaining story about Frankenstein's monster. And I also think you should read it because a lot of people, I think, get confused with Frankenstein now, where Frankenstein's the person and then Frankenstein's monster is the monster. He's purposely not named. Like, I feel like it's just good for people to read and understand, like, the actual message behind Frankenstein as a story. Or you don't have to. But I just think it's cool that, like, it's changed a lot. Like, the story of Frankenstein has changed a lot, and I think going back to the original is always beneficial. Next, again, a very sharp turn, because I did not put these in any order at all, is The Cruel Prince. I'm just gonna read it. Of course I want to be like them. They're beautiful as blades forged in some divine fire. They will live forever. And Carden is even more beautiful than the rest. I hate him more than all the others. I hate him so much that sometimes when I look at him, I can hardly breathe. Jude was 7 when her parents were murdered, and she and her 2 sisters were stolen away to live in the treacherous high court of Fairy. 10 years later, Jude wants nothing more than to belong there, despite her mortality. But many of the Fae despise humans, especially Prince Carden, the youngest and wickedest son of the High King. To win a place at the court, she must defy him and face the consequences. As Jude becomes more deeply embroiled in the palace intrigues and deceptions, she discovers her own capacity for trickery and bloodshed. But as betrayal threatens to drown the court of fairies in violence, Jude will need to risk her life in a dangerous alliance to save her sisters and Fairy itself. So this is another YA, but I feel like it's like so much more than that. Maybe I just haven't read enough like YA fantasy, but I feel like it's very rare that I find one that like is actually good. I just need to read more, I guess. It's yet again a fantastic case of world building and character design. I just think the world is so expansive and there's so much to it, and it's explained so well for it being not that long of a book. So yeah, I think fantasy courts and drama and evil people and all of that. And I will say also, if you've heard of it for the romance in the book, I would get that idea out of your head, because like, yes, it's there, but that's like not really the point, I guess. I feel like there's so much more like high court drama, politics. There's a lot of politics and like all of this different things that like I just think come before the romance, even though it is nice, I guess. So don't go into it expecting that, and also don't go into it looking for like where that matchup could like be, because I just think it's nicer to not know. Also an easier read, but it's still very well done in my opinion. But like, I don't know, what do I know? Maybe it's not written well, maybe it's written great. I just enjoyed it, and I just think I wanted to recommend it. I don't know. 2 more, okay? Next is the Hazel Wood. 17-year-old Alice and her mother have spent most of Alice's life on the road, always a step ahead of the uncanny bad luck biting at their heels. But when Alice's grandmother, the reclusive author of a cult classic book of pitch-dark fairy tales, dies alone on her estate, the Hazel Wood, Alice learns how bad her luck can really get. Her mother is stolen away by a figure who claims to come from the hinterland, the cruel supernatural world where her grandmother's stories are set. Alice's only lead is the message her mother left behind: stay away from the Hazel Wood. Alice has long steered clear of her grandmother's cultish fans, but now she has no choice but to ally with the classmate Ellery Finch, a hinterland superfan who may have his own reasons for wanting to help her. To retrieve her mother, Alice must venture first to the Hazelwood, then into the world where her grandmother's tales began, and where she might find out how her own story went so wrong. This is also one that I haven't read in a long time, so I can't quite speak to how well it holds up, but it is very much like dark fairy tale vibes, which I thought was perfect for like fall. And I just think it should be a good read regardless, even if it's not great. If you like fairy tales, if you like creepy things, the vibes are definitely there, and it's really atmospheric. But if you don't love it, don't blame me. I just think, guys, it's okay to read a book just for fun. And this is definitely that, but it's also, I think it was well written. I should have, like, I don't know. I just haven't read it in a while, so I don't want to like say too much that ends up not being true. But I remember really liking it. I think I gave it 4 stars. And if you like fairy tales, if you like dark fairy tales, if you like creepy things, then you will like it to an extent. And lastly, I have The Secret History. I'll just read the thing first and then explain. Under the influence of their charismatic classics professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits at an elite New England college discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. But when they go beyond the boundaries of normal morality, they slip gradually from obsession to corruption and betrayal, and at last inexorably into evil. So I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a fall book. I would say it's a winter book, but my reason for putting it in here is because it took me so long to get through. I really loved it, but it was a difficult read. So I think if you start now, it'll be the perfect book to be reading in the wintertime as well, if you're like me. It is really well written, obviously. It gets you thinking about a lot, which I think is why it was hard for me to sit and read it in one go, because I was getting like, not overwhelmed, but like, it's definitely not a quick read to like just get through. But I did really like it. I think it's a amazing book, but it's definitely a bit of a harder read. And you should start now so that by the time you get to winter, you're still reading it. And then lastly, I want to do, just as a little bonus, a book that I want to read this fall. I wanted to read this last year and never got to it, and like, maybe it's not even that good, but I just thought it would be fun to put a little bonus book in here, even though I've never read it, so I can't say anything about it. And that is Something Wicked This Way Comes. And I'll read the description just because, but I don't really have anything else to say about it. One of Ray Bradbury's best known and most popular novels, Something Wicked This Way Comes, now featuring a new introduction and material about its long-standing influence on culture and genre. For those who still dream and remember, for those yet to experience the hypnotic power of its dark poetry, step inside. The show is about to begin. Cougar and Dark's Pandemonium Shadow Show has come to Greentown, Illinois to destroy every life touched by its strange and sinister mystery. The carnival rolls in sometime after midnight, ushering in Halloween a week early. A calliope's shrill siren song beckons to all with a seductive promise of dreams and youth regained. 2 boys will discover the secret of its smoke, mazes, and mirrors. 2 friends who will soon know all too well the heavy cost of wishes and the stuff of nightmares. Few novels have endured in the heart and memory as has Ray Bradbury's unparalleled literary masterpiece, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Scary and suspenseful, it is a timeless classic in the American canon. So like I said, haven't read it, can't say anything about it, but I think the carnival vibes, the dark, scary, hopefully vibes, were intriguing. So hopefully I like it. I read Fahrenheit 451 in middle school, so I can't really say to whether I'm gonna like Ray Bradbury's style just because that was so long ago, but I remember liking Fahrenheit 451, so I'm hoping I like this as well. Okay, that's it. I've already been recording for like 30 minutes, so I hope I can actually edit this and like transfer it to my iPod. But those are my fall book recommendations, and please, 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 if you have books even remotely similar or not at all to what I was showing you, please let me know, because I'm always looking for books to read. I'm not reaching my Goodreads goal this year though, unfortunately, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys got some recommendations. If you have questions about any of those books, let me know. But I seriously do recommend all of them for one reason or another. Some of them are a little bit harder to read, some of them are a little bit easier to get through. So I hope there was kind of something for everyone. But happy October, happy fall, and I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!